Hello, guys. Greetings and salutations. This is James. Thought I'd make another video. I actually wanted to talk about just some of the attributes that a woman of God should be looking for when it comes to just a potential husband. I was actually talking to a female friend of mine, very dear to me, last week. And, I talked to a lot of my friends, male and female, about relationships, about their perspectives on marriage and things like that. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people I know that call themselves Christians, but they really tarnish the marital covenant as if it's something that's just unnecessary. It's a burden. It's a chore. It's not beneficial. And it's really sad to hear things like that. And I don't really know why this has become somewhat of a trend. I think it's horrific, to be honest with you. It's one thing for the secular world, those outside of Christ, to have a distorted perspective when it comes to what marriage is defined as. But it's really sad to hear when there are people who profess to love the Lord and they, tarnish the name of, just the biblical perspective of marriage, And I think it's just really sad, and there's so much more I can say on that, but I just want to address that. I was talking to a female friend recently, and she incidentally revealed to me that she was, entertaining the idea of being with a specific person that, I'm familiar with. And I think that she was hesitant at first to really share this, and she knew, I don't think this gentleman particularly is qualified for a long-term relationship. Definitely not with her. They don't have the same goals in mind when it comes to relationships, to my understanding. But instead of really getting upset with her and angry with her, which I was a little, I was a little disappointed that she even entertained the idea of even thinking about, him in that way. But I realized that there was a bigger picture here, and not only for her, but for a lot of other ladies as well. So it's something I want to address, and it's really just I want to just start off saying that I know for a fact that women have a hard time when it comes to relationships and finding a partner and things like that. And we live in a world that really devalues women and treat women honestly like objects. There's this idea that if a woman is younger and she doesn't have children, she's like some type of catch. She's more valuable. She doesn't have a lot of sexual partners, and then, when a woman, if she's aging, or she's getting older, maybe she has children from relationships that didn't work out, and she's had her share of partners and, fun time or whatever else, that she doesn't have value, and that's the understanding. And I just want to remind us as Christians, we should not adopt that philosophy when it comes to potentially dating or courting someone. We should have a very different mindset when it comes to people that are imperfect, and just like myself, I'm a very different person than how I started out as an adult because, God in his, infinite wisdom, and grace decided to, share his grace on a sinner like myself, because I know for 100% certainty, I did not know what the heck I was even doing. And all of us don't. We don't know what we're doing. We may have unique strengths in certain areas, but nobody knows how to conduct themselves when it comes to a relationship with other people, in long-term relationships, romantic relationships, without God. And even people I know that are considered atheists, they adopt Christian biblical perspectives because they know it works. And studies have shown that. And so, but it's something that I was going to get, a little upset with my friend when she shared this with me about the person she was considering. But I realized, like I said, there was a bigger picture, not only with her, but a lot of other ladies. I do think that there is, a lot that a woman has to risk when it comes to opening herself to a potential partner. There's a lot of men that don't have good intentions for relationships, and there are a lot of guys that will pretend as if they are, they have good intentions and things like that, and only say and do what it is they need to do just to maneuver their lives into a woman's life, just so they can take advantage and then, exploit the woman, enjoy the woman for a season, and then abandon them, And somebody very dear to me, another friend, somebody I love very dearly, she went as far as even purchasing her own engagement ring because she was convinced at the time that the man that she was seeing was genuine, but he wasn't. And, he convinced her this was the best move for her to take initiative and buy her own engagement ring. And I'm convinced he just bought himself some time at the time, And now I thank God that she's grown so much more, so she's not making mistakes, like that, and that's what I love about just being a Christian is we understand that we all make mistakes. I've made mistakes as well, and I love that. Although I'm not a perfect person, I do see God's perfecting work in my life, and in the lives of all that's around us. But I just want to recognize that ladies have a lot to lose when it comes to opening themselves up to a man that's, quite frankly, not qualified to be in a long-term relationship. And I think that we have to keep that in mind, that not every woman is getting trained and taught what attributes to look for in a potential partner, in our day and age. Some ladies are, but there are ladies that aren't, and they're winging it and they're trying to figure out things. And then you have people like the Red Pill movement and the Manosphere and all these other groups that are attacking them because they don't know. And we have to understand that we are all enslaved to our sinful nature. We all are, men and women alike. This is why we make mistakes. This is why we go to pornography. This is why we cheat on our partners. This is why we, have sex outside of marriage and have these wicked thoughts and stuff like that. Lying, cheating, adultery, you name it, idolatry, blaspheming God's name. It's because we're all, we inherited a sinful nature because of Adam's sin in the garden. Okay, so if you're a human being, you have a sinful nature, okay? And you're going to be, even as a Christian, when you're redeemed and God has changed you, you're going to be battling it until you leave this world and you enter the next. That's just how it goes. But God is going to stay with you. Now, one of the things that I also want to address before I get into some of these verses and attributes of what a woman should be looking for is I think that we just have to be mindful that women deserve to be acknowledged and also reminded that just because they make mistakes, it doesn't mean that they lose value, and I think that there's a lot of us in this culture that we deify almost the most attractive women. And then as they get older or they don't have any prestige, we, disregard them. And so I know ladies that have developed a lot of serious insecurities because they understand that. They understand that if they're not a certain size and they don't have a certain look, then they're not relevant to the world. No one's going to be concerned about what it is they're doing, what happens to them. And if they mess up, everyone's going to, attack them for the rest of their lives, with reminding them, hey, but didn't you mess up there? Why were you in this relationship for this long? If you knew it wasn't going that way, well, why did you stay? And we have to understand there are a lot of people that they stay in abusive relationships or relationships where they're being cheated on because they don't know better. And again, we're all subjugated to the sinful nature. So it's really important to keep that in mind that no one is going to be perfect when it comes to making these decisions. And I'm not trying to apologize on behalf of women, but I think this past week, it just occurred to me, and I'm 39 years old, and it just occurred to me that there are women that honestly are going into the dating relationship world and have absolutely no clue what they're doing. They have absolutely no clue. Like there are women that don't know that when you play around in your 20s, like you're actually risking the chance of you not getting married later on, that it actually gets harder, and I think that we have to keep that in mind. Instead of criticizing women, we should be teaching them and reminding them, hey, by the way, did you know that, the likelihood of you getting married after a certain point is going to be more difficult, and I think there are some ladies, if we really reminded them and brought this to their attention, they... All right. Had a little mishap, but now I am back. Yeah, I actually wanted to get to this verse here. And this next verse is found in 1 Peter. And it says 1 Peter 3:7. Likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you as of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. So the Bible is telling us that, first off, The Bible is actually referring to marriage as the grace of life, which I think it's very fitting. So I think Peter did a very good job with describing marriage as the grace of life. But also, it's a recognition that the man that you should be showing interest in knows that there's a difference between the men and women and our roles and things like that. And the Bible says here, and showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life. So your man or your potential partner should recognize that there's not only a difference, but he has a role of protecting you, of valuing you, of loving you, of serving you, And I think that sometimes there's this twisted idea that when a man has a woman that's willing to do anything for her, for him, that he should take advantage. And the truth is, not every man does that. Not all of us believe that. If I found a woman that loves to prepare great meals for me and hang out with me and do all these things, I'm not going to say, okay, well, let me exploit you, let me exhaust you with serving me. I'm going to serve her even much more, and there are men like that, like this, that understand we have a role, we have a position to love and protect our families and to protect what it is that God has given us. I can't speak for every guy, but I know that as a man of God, when I meet that partner, she's a gift from God, and I have the responsibility of protecting one of God's daughters. So that means I can't exploit her. I can't destroy her spirit. I can't weigh her down. I can't criticize her. I can't play around with her emotions and her body and treat her like an object. But I have the responsibility to value her, to love her, to serve her properly, as Christ, again, serves his church. So, ladies, I think it's just important to keep these attributes in mind, because you have a lot to lose when it comes to your relationships, and whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or whatever, 50s, if pursuing someone or showing interest in someone is important, you can't just open your life to just every single person that reveals themselves to you. You have to not be accessible to everyone that's interested. There has to be some type of standards. One of the things that I help ladies understand, because I'm not saying I'm some Casanova or something, but there are times when ladies have stepped up in my life and said, hey, I'm interested, James, and I have to let them know straight up. I'm a Christian man. I take my relationship with God seriously, and I have to be with a Christian woman. What is your Christian background? Do you love God? What is your thoughts on the church? Can you describe God for me? What do you think about the marriage covenant? What do you think the roles are of a man versus a woman in the household, in a marriage, And so I need to actually learn those things. And I think that there are ladies that are so preoccupied with just finding a partner that they're not asking the important questions that need to be asked. And I share this all the time, but I'm going to share it again. One of the verses that I go to just to remind people, where I stand, is Proverbs 31:30. And this is the type of woman I'm looking for. Charm is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. So it's really important to keep that in mind, that there's a standard we should have as Christian men and women. We can't be accessible to everyone. Even as a man, I may not be the most handsome and the richest or whatever, but I have standards. Not everyone who steps up and is beautiful to the rest of the world is going to be able to get a shot with me, and it's just, I have standards. I have to be with a Christian woman. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I have to be with somebody who loves God. And this principle really applies to you as well, ladies, is imagine having a disagreement with someone that's very serious, that you're supposed to be married to. And they decide that, they're very angry. For the Christian, we know that God's word is the final authority when it comes to how we should handle things. But for the godless man or woman, well, their authority is themselves. So you have to keep that in mind, that you're risking your relationship when you are basically placing your heart and entrusting your heart with a godless person that do not live by godly principles. You're risking everything when you do that. And even if you've had bad relationships or failed marriages, it can get even worse if you entrust yourself with the wrong person. So don't allow insecurities and things like that to drive you into the hands of a man that just wants to experiment with you or just feed off using you and exploit you temporarily just to get his selfish needs met. But he really would never take you seriously in a long-term relationship. So I just want to close with there. I think it's really important just to at least have this discussion. But ladies, you are very valuable. You're made in the image of God. Do not allow yourself to be entrusted with a man that is godless if you're a Christian woman, okay? All the other women that do not have principles to live by, biblical standards, let them do all that. But if you're a Christian woman, you don't get to do that, okay? So be mindful of that. God bless you. Take care and peace.